Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. I hope everybody is doing well today.
Hey everybody, it's great to see you again. I love these lives. These are fun.
Love, love these lives.
Love.
It's great. It's great to be interacting because we're able to share info as well, and just trying to catch up what everybody's already talking about out there. So we obviously there's all sorts of rumors going on, and everybody's trying to piece things together, and I'm getting messages coming in from, friends, family members, people with all sorts of different connections, and trying to keep up with this, as well as people that have, inside sources there as well. And there's quite a few people that I keep in contact with that you guys know. I'm sure you guys know, from other channels and all. So we're just trying to keep up with everything going on, and everybody's got to get as prepared as possible. And we were just letting family members here know, immediate family members here, like Cindy's kids and everything, what's going on, and trying to paint that picture, of what is really going on when everybody's trying to figure it out together. And just keeping up with all this is very daunting, isn't it?
It is. There's a lot of information to sift through because you don't want to over alarm. You don't want to under alarm. There's, it looks like a serious situation. We want to deal with it appropriately. And we don't want to just talk about the things that are alarming either. We come on here so we can talk about solutions, what we can do to prepare. Everybody has their own ability and their own little sliver of their life to do as much as possible, as much as they can possibly do for themselves and their family. So we wanted to talk about that too.
Yeah, and there's so much. Off-grid Cosita is talking about, basically this. And so, this is something we're aware of. This is one of the ground zeros for China with this whole layer of this new technology. And we're all wondering the same things, I think. It's just one of those things where there's so many puzzle pieces to put together on how this developed, how it got to be so out of control so fast. Lots of suspicions, lots of numbers, and a lot of obvious panic going on in so many areas. And again, it just shows how much we need to be prepared in these times. And we must be self-sufficient. We really need to be self-sufficient in these times. And, when we say that, meaning our family group as well.
Yeah. We, as prepared as possible. And what does that look like for you? Like, what are your resources? What are the things that you can do for yourself and your family personally? Because this looks kind of scary, you guys. I'm not going to lie. And I don't, I tend to pull back a little bit when it comes to, what we should talk about, what we should say. I try to lean on the side of, oh, it's not that bad, but the stuff we've been seeing, at first I was thinking maybe it's propaganda. Maybe they're just really trying to wallop us, financially and make people stop going out to the stores and to the malls. But then, we were watching the mainstream like CBS and Fox and the other ones, and they're all showing the same thing about people that are just like falling over in the streets, and these doctors are crying because they're overwhelmed. That's pretty serious. And what do you do with that? You take that information and you talk to people, and I don't know. It's just there's so much going on.
Yeah, a good friend of mine who is a client, and he just sent me a video, and unfortunately sent it to where I can't put it right up here right now, but maybe I could get it forwarded for tonight's video. And it's just the people literally fighting. They're sitting on bags of rice and like fighting for it, trying to pull a bag of rice away from another person. His son lived in China and was teaching in China, and has friends on the inside there. And so we're able to get some video and word from inside China. And so, here I'm watching, and I'll try to get this over so you guys could see. And it's just one woman with a motorcycle helmet on, just trying to pry out of another woman's hands a bag of rice. And that woman looks like she has 2 bags hoarded. And these are big bags, like 50-pound bags. And she's not going to let one go. And, this is what's going on there. And obviously, this 5G is an interesting route to take. We've had so many people talk about it. And, I'm open to believing that there could be an effect there as well. This I also got. And so, let's see if we can just make this a little bit bigger. So this is Wuhan, and this is just showing that from January 24th to April 23rd, all motor vehicles are restricted. And so anything here, this is like the outer loop, anything on the inside is restricted. So even people, that have vehicles, you're not allowed to use them. And this is going all the way out to April 23rd right now. And of course, that could be extended out as well. So this was actually sent to me again from somebody that's in there. There's a lot going on right now, most definitely. And we're trying to piece this all together. So let's jump over here and start. So we see, and this is our global military info. All interstate transportation services in and out of Beijing will be suspended tomorrow. First level emergency response. Private vehicles have been banned from operating in Wuhan. And so, they're definitely locking down, one section at a time is what they're doing. And, Beijing's huge. I mean, Wuhan's huge. Yeah, this is a massive area. We're talking like a fifth of the U.S. is on complete lockdown, between a fifth and a quarter of the United States, the entire United States being on lockdown. So, as far as the amount of China that's on lockdown right now. And again, everybody that hasn't done preps, I think you should do them in these times. I mean, we have the earth changes, which are ongoing. That's obviously something that is affecting us all in different ways, depending on where we are. And then we have this going on now. There is still, most definitely, and I was just delving into that trade agreement a little bit deeper because honestly, I don't pay as much attention to the economic side of things as I probably should, just out of distaste for the whole system. But really, I should pay more attention to it. I'll admit that. So I was just reading about this deal, and some of the stuff in there makes me really sick as far as what's going on and what we're exposed to in our own food supply here in the United States. Because a lot of us look over at China and we look at that market and the scene of that market and we're just completely grossed out. Like, how could these people even buy anything from a market like that and put it in your body, put it on your plate for your kids? But at the same time, even though we might have, things that look beautiful to us, like perfect GMO this and GMO that, what's really going on? What are we really putting into our bodies? And so I don't want to jump all over the place here. But yeah, Beijing, there's more and more parts of China that are going down on lockdown. And so it's definitely progressing. And let's go over here. So you see right here, 1,438 confirmed cases, 42 deaths, 39 people that have recovered. That proportion of deaths to people that have recovered is definitely disconcerting. Reports say that this number, you might times it by 10, you might times it by 100, maybe even more than that to get the real numbers. Because for one, they ran out of kits. They're not even really able to test, and that's part of the problem right now that's going on. We see over here on the Wall Street Journal, one of the new words today is that the U.S. is working to evacuate American citizens from epidemic-stricken Chinese city. I've been in contact with Blue Kool-Aid, you guys know, who now is... He's in the house?
He's in the house.
Good.
Hi, Blue Kool-Aid.
Glad you're in the house, brother. And then Blue Kool-Aid had done a video of Hopi NG, who is also somebody that's been with us since the beginning. Another brother, another great person, like Blue Kool-Aid, who we respect and we're happy to have as parts of our whole family. We're all family together. And we're talking about people that are stranded in there and want to come home, want to get out, but then they're not able to get out. Well, word is coming through that, they are working to evacuate American citizens, from these areas, and hopefully they'll be able to come home. I would hate to be trapped, in a foreign country in a lockdown situation. That would be so disconcerting. And so let's hope that does manifest and they can get them out. And of course, they'll have to be somewhere where they could be monitored for 2 weeks anyway, because, it's like a 10 to 13 day window between being exposed and getting infected. So, I'm sure the families understand that. They would just love to get them home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't imagine if I had a family member over there and they were stuck and... what do you do? What do you do in these situations? Like, how do you cope? And this is one of those things where you have to take like a sort of a 3D look at it, because it's, in the 3D, and we just need to cope the best we can. And like one of the coping things that we can do, and it'll also help raise our vibration, is meditation. And that can help boost our immune system too, copious amounts of vitamin C, stuff like that. So this is all like a whole bunch of coping stuff, because we have to walk through it, and we have to walk through it as a family, all of us together. And we all have real world things that we need to look at. Like, a lot of us have to go out and go to work. A lot of our children are in public school. So, and a lot of these things, we can bring it on ourselves through stress. If we just sit in a space of fear, in a bubble of fear, that frequency it's not going to do us any good. And the way to combat that, I think, is through some meditation and some other things that we'll talk about today.
And so Wages World is his new channel as well, in case you guys didn't know. And I know you guys are probably up on things more than I am. And we're staying put in Nevada and, trying to come together. Thankfully, like we had said, we have family here. I mean, it is barren here. It's barren. But we know water sources. If things got horrible, we do know where there's springs. We've come upon some springs in our hikes, and we have covered almost, we've covered a big patch of desert here exploring. So it's been eye-opening as well, because there is, you might look and see nothing but sage, growing here and there in little clumps. But there are things out there, and there are ways to survive as well. And as many people have been talking about with heirloom seeds, it's interesting too. There is Deep South Homestead. I was watching somebody else interviewing them. Somebody else that I'm subscribed to was interviewing Deep South Homestead, because I've been doing. I don't spend most of my time looking at channels like this. I'm trying to build up more knowledge and skill base when it comes to living off grid, growing things for yourself, even like surviving in harsh climates. That's the type of thing I've been, really focusing on. And that's coming from intuition, and it's just listening to my instincts. So Deep South Homestead was talking about his heirloom seeds and having problems getting them to take in like second generation. And boy, that makes me suspicious, and I think that's been part of this plan as well, to control the food supply, and the GMO seeds, as we know, that was something that I feel was very nefarious. And, of course they say it's all about producing bigger and better and feeding the world, but at the same time, there's an awful lot of signs that these things can lead to sterility in some of the genetic lines, and controlling the food supply. And, he who controls the food supply and the water supply controls everything. As we know, these big corporations have been buying up the water supply. Australia has a drought, and they're shipping water out of the country. And this is corporations doing this. It's so effed up. There's no way around it. It's just a crazy situation we see going on.
Hi, Chris. Thank you. Chris says, hi, instead of bleach for water purification for long term, what are your thoughts on iodine instead? Thanks. I haven't
researched it more than just a cursory thing, what you guys have probably seen too. I don't like the idea of ingesting bleach, but if you are going to be faced with potentially exposing yourself to something that could kill you right away, you do what you have to do in those times. What we do have is some life straws, which supposedly are able to filter like 200,000 gallons. And thanks for the super chat. And they cost about, I want to say $15 to $20. I mean, they're not expensive at all. So those are like a backup. And we have 2 distillers. We have a generator. We have solar on the camper. And I do want to, and now that we're staying put, maybe I will just order in a couple more solar panels, bite the bullet, and, extend our ability there as well. So we could run the distillers, which are great. And we have 2 of those. And we do have one of those big Berkeys, although, the filters are expensive, and we have a couple other smaller filtering options as well. And it wouldn't be a bad idea to back those up. Have backups to your backups is really the good way to go. But what was disconcerting with that coming out of Deep South Homestead was just the fact that, are the seeds that we think heirloom, are they tainted? Have they gotten tainted now? And so, because so many people are going to be counting on just simply gathering seeds from what they have. And, let's hope that's not the case. Maybe it was just, an isolated event there.
So here says no link with seafood market in first case of China coronavirus. Chinese scientists revealed. That's really curious. So again, it's one of these things where they come out the gates with, oh, well, this is how it happened. This is how it was spread, yada, yada, yada. When in reality, they don't know. So that kind of leaves it up to us in and of ourselves to make sure we take the proper precautions, because these guys are out for themselves. They're out to take care of themselves, and there's probably an agenda. They probably have a goal in mind, and they're not going to share that information with us. So we really have to just look out for ourselves. There's a lot of things that we can do. There's a ton of stuff that we can do. Okay, so here's this. And she's wanting this bag of rice, and one gal actually has a helmet on. So I don't know. I wouldn't look at these people. They're sitting on their bags of rice. But what would you do?
Yeah, so I want to thank our brother that sent this to me from inside China. So you could see, there some areas there's no food available is what we're hearing. Other areas you got this type of thing going on. where they're at each other's throats, and people are going to get this way. So this lady, apparently this other lady has 2 bags too. So I don't know if it's that they're allowing them to. As you see, I see 2 bags, 2 bags, 2 bags. We have been living on a bag that size, and, I use rice maybe a couple times a week just to, make things economical. And we've been living on one of those for almost a year. You can make it go a long way if you have to. But yeah, it's going to be a mess. I mean, it's going to be a mess. And you're going to get people we know people are going to get violent. Very, very sad situation.
Yeah, because these people have families at home and children that are hungry. And, as a parent, you guys would know, how can you look at your child who's hungry and then not do what it takes to get food for that child? And that's where this becomes kind of primal, and it can get nasty. And people, they do what they have to do. Then at some point we become no different than an animal out in the wild bringing home food for his babies.
And so, they're selling us on the seafood market. This is it. And so, the first person with symptoms had no contact with the market. And were they, was this an intentional trying to get you to look down one way because they don't want people panicking? Could very well be. Or, again, they might just not have known at that point in time. Here we see 56 million Chinese on lockdown as the virus spreads to Australia and Malaysia. So this is out of Zero Hedge. As we move into a Saturday evening on the ground in Wuhan, it's becoming increasingly obvious to the broader community that China's authoritarian government has failed to contain this viral outbreak. And I know President Trump said they were doing all they could and kind of applauded them. We talked about that as well. And so they got travel restrictions on 56 million Chinese. Al Jazeera is reporting that at least 18 cities in central Hubei are now dealing with travel restrictions. And then we had just seen too about Beijing as well. And look at how they're closing the roads. I mean, that's seriously closing the roads. They're putting barriers up there, guys. Look at that. That is, that's closing things down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't know, I'm hoping, praying that things won't get like that around here. That would be really bad, and imagine what other measures these people are going to take to keep people in and keep people out. That when we see the news, we're only getting a sliver of the true information that's really, really going on. We're not getting the full story here, so that leaves us in our imaginations to put the rest together. Sometimes I don't like using my imagination, but if they're that desperate to keep people in and they don't want anyone escaping, what are they going to do with the people that do try to get out? That's a scary thought.
Yeah, and I'm watching comments as we do this and thinking of going one direction or the other here. Let me see if I could find. Okay, here you go. So over here you see doctors warn China coronavirus carriers may show no symptoms of illness. A CAT scan revealed signs of pneumonia in a 10-year-old boy's lungs, even though he had no outward signs of infection. Strict quarantine and contact tracing regimes crucial to containing the outbreak, but at the same time, they might not have any symptoms, and that's what you guys were just talking about. And so, they could scan them and, get a 98.6. And, as another interesting point was, and we talked about this, that our body temperatures have been decreasing, which is curious as well. And there was a news article we talked about a couple weeks ago about that. But anyway, so, they might not be sick, apparently, and they could still be spreading it. So yeah, this is most definitely going to be very, very challenging Here we see all Poland's borders monitored for the coronavirus. That so says an official there, so they are taking it seriously. So if this does go global, if it hasn't already truly gone global, you might get a lot of border closures, and hey, you might get the wall after all.
Right?
Right? Every area might be walled off when you get down to it in one way or another. Here you see Minnesota gears up virus precautions. 2 suspected cases are reported. State officials stress that the risk of infection here is low. Why do you think it's special? Why is Minnesota special that the risk is low? When you see something that, if we looked at the numbers, and I'll jump over here next, let's see. Where was it? There's Dr. Eric, so we'll go over here. Okay, so this is another update. This is BioRx IV. We looked at it before, and so these numbers are changing, and people are, they're going to have their opinions change, the officials. And so here, this is what they're saying right here now, because we watched some numbers yesterday, one that was terrifying to an epidemiologist. And here you see they did some stochastic simulations of early outbreak trajectories that are consistent with the epidemiological findings to date. We found the basic reproduction number, the RO, to be around 2.2. And in parentheses, 90% high density interval, anywhere between 1.4 and 3.8. That 3.8 is what that Dr. Eric that we had talked about was quoting, and he said, "Holy Mother of God." He called it basically equating it to a thermonuclear pandemic. So here you still see you're in that range between 1.4 to 3.8. They're picking 2.2 to be the number that they're looking at. And so that is still basically the 1918 pandemic, which was horrible and basically brought down at least 50 million. I've seen 50 to 100 million is the numbers that they give, depending on the source. That was a 1.8. So this they're saying is 2.2. So actually more. And again, the range is 1.4 to 3.8. So they're saying basically it's in that same area now. So it seems like they're trying to downplay a teeny bit. And this is Dr. Eric that we were talking about. And so he's his update right here, transmission of coronavirus estimated at 2.6 by another research group, lower than the 3.8 initial reports. 2.6 is extremely bad. Each infected person will infect 2.6 others. So that's how it works out. And 3.8 was the initial report, but see, it's still in that range, 1.4 to 3.8. So each infected case infects 2.6 other people. And again, the Spanish flu was 1.8, just to give you an idea.
Yeah, so, it's definitely more than double. Before it was like 1 to 1, and now it's like 1 to 3. So that's really quite concerning. And what we can do right now is really start and beefing up our immune systems. We have a buffer, you guys. We are so fortunate to have this buffer that we're looking at now to start working on our immune systems. I mean, copious amounts of vitamin C. The stuff can't hurt you. And you have time to order the Echinacea Golden Seal. You have time to either buy or order a colloidal silver maker. So I think, as I sit here and watch this, I'm just going to be extremely grateful that we have this time to beef up our immune systems and kind of, prepare our children, prepare our family. And I know everybody's not going to react the same way we do, but we can get out more information. We can wake up more people than not. So even if people don't take the same precautions we do, maybe they'll take some precaution, and that's going to save, more lives.
Yeah, yeah, let's hope so. And this is the ghost town of Wuhan now. So we can see that there's nobody really on the streets there. Which, again, with the situation ongoing.
Wages World. He says, what are your thoughts on the ghost cities that are very close to all of this? Do you think it's related? We haven't looked at that.
Yeah, I've done videos on the ghost cities. So that's a good, interesting analogy. Something very curious to think about. Is it related? Well, I mean, I kind of was leaning towards the idea that they were maybe there because of the things that are going to happen along the coastline with flooding and things like that. And they knew they were going to have to move vast numbers of people to a different area. So I was thinking that they're honestly more related to the earth changes, but who knows? Maybe they will end up pulling people into these other areas. Who knows? Are there huge isolation cities, just in case? That's a really interesting thought.
Yeah, that's a really good question. We'll look into that more. So, yeah, we don't know how this is going to unfold. I have a feeling, though, that hindsight's going to be 2020 as it usually is. We'll be able to look back and connect all the dots, but right now we're trying to get a handle on it and maybe connect some dots before too many people here get sick. And so far, thank God, we don't have a whole lot of reported cases in the US. But then also another thing too is like this time of year, a lot of the hospitals are already full with the flu, so it's going to be a little bit hard to discern, like, is your hospital packed full of people because of this, or is it just like the normal flu, which we're not sure about that either. It's just going to be a lot of discernment.
Yeah, in this article out of the Star, because I did see somebody that was talking about that doctor or medical person that was talking about 90,000 people being infected yesterday, which obviously now it could be double that. Who knows, exactly where we're at. And so here they're talking about 100,000 people infected. And, this over here too, China coronavirus spread through eyes, warns infected medic. So be aware of that as well. And, goggles besides the masks. And that's disconcerting. And this is somebody, I guess, that is most definitely suffering with it, trying to keep warm. And so, there's still an awful lot of videos and scary photos coming out. And they're talking about 2-day queues to see a doctor, people being turned away, people being sent back home and told to just basically self-isolate, all that. And we see, empty streets in, a city area of 11 million people. And here it's talking about the entire province of Hubei, 30 million locked down, 30 million people in just this one province locked down. And a lot of people were making comments about what's all that red on the ground. And so people were saying that it's fireworks related. But, are people with this thing going on still lighting off fireworks? Maybe, I don't know.
They might be.
They could be.
Possible.
They could be. And then this is what a lot of people have talked about as well. Scientists who simulated the global impact of a coronavirus outbreak says the cat's already out of the bag and calls China's efforts to contain the disease unlikely to be effective. And this is exactly what so many people have been buzzing about and saying, isn't it interesting that this simulation was ran, and in it shows that the virus is going to hit 65 million. And this is Eric Toner. And this was quoted from a business news channel, CNBC, and explained that China's efforts to contain the current outbreak of a fast-moving upper respiratory illness is unlikely to be effective. I just still find it interesting that the WHO hasn't come out with anything official yet. That's mind-boggling. I mean, because they do with things that obviously are nowhere close to this. It's just it just boggles our mind, and I don't know. It makes things very suspicious. Very suspicious. And here's what so many people have been talking about right here. Toner, an MD, researcher at Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security, took part in a simulation undertaken in partnership with the World Economic Forum and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation that posited such a disease could kill 65 million people within 18 months under the right circumstances. So, coincidence?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, why haven't I keep seeing a lot of comments in here that people do have contacts over there and we're not being told the truth. And that doesn't surprise me so much. We're hardly ever told the truth, but the real scary thing is it as bad as the reports have been coming in? And if that's the case, that's really bad. And, still we're over here. We have to, continue on with our lives and go to work. But if we were being told the truth and if our family members were being told the truth, maybe we would act differently and more lives would be saved. But that's what we're looking at. It's like a reality check type situation where, all you can do is what you can do for yourself, and then give your family members information, and then, hopefully they'll do what's best for them too. But yeah, this is kind of ugly and kind of scary. And I do keep seeing the comments come in that, don't trust the government, stuff like that. As I'm trying to be careful with my vocabulary words, because we wanted to monetize this one. But who knows? As long as we're getting the word out, then it's worth it. It's worth everything.
Yeah, we didn't even try to monetize the last couple of lives because, it's like, what's the point? And then we just spoke a little more freer. Yeah, I know our channel is being monitored very hard. Mm-hmm. And we're aware of that. And Susan says, this is really, it's a war on humanity. And it's a war that's getting to be very, very obvious. And more people are waking up to this and exactly what's going on. So again, it's great, and we need to prepare, and we need to take our preparations to all new levels. And, boy, I'd love to do one more shopping run, but I don't think we will. I think we'll just stay put and just, we're used to intermittent fasting, and we're used to doing some fasting as well. And so, hey, it's, you're going to boost your system. We've been putting videos up on Brightian and BitChute, and I did one on how you could reboot your entire immune system with fasting in a 72-hour window. And that was one of Brightian's, I think, top 30 or 40 videos ever. And it is starting out, but it's becoming a more and more a bigger venue as it's growing pretty fast. A lot of people recognize, the bigger picture here as well. So yeah, I mean, fasting is actually something that's going to boost our system. So we shouldn't look at it fearfully. That's one of the things to recognize, because we could actually strengthen our immune system with fasting, and and not panic as well. So as we were saying here, it's just getting to be very, very obvious what's really, really been going on. We recognize this. And it's amazing how fast they move on things over in China in some ways. And we were watching the bulldozers laying the foundation. And then, of course, there were other thoughts that maybe they weren't going to really build this brand new hospital, and it was going to be for something else. But there's a lot of reports coming from the inside that they are disposing of the bodies very, very quickly, and basically incinerating. So Wuhan just announced they'll build another Wuhan coronavirus specialized hospital named the Mountain of the Thunder God. Interesting choice. to add another 1,300 beds in 2 weeks. 2 weeks they're going to put up a hospital. In 2 weeks, that's amazing. But again, they don't have to jump through hurdles like we do here as well. And then you have President Xi saying China faces a grave situation as the virus death toll hits 41, and we know that is not even close to what it really is, as well as the infected numbers. And this gets into, again, bringing the U.S. citizens home, which would be a beautiful thing. And then over here, this is a notice that I got from somebody over in North Carolina, talking about UNC Charlotte's statement on the coronavirus, because there is somebody in North Carolina that does have the virus. I think it's been confirmed. It's hard to keep up with all these things going on right now as to what is confirmed, what's not confirmed. But the word is getting out now. The hospitals are all getting notified. Healthcare workers are all getting notified. As we talked about Minnesota with their 2 suspected cases and 4 Australian cases confirmed as well. And over here, this is out of Free Malaysia. And you have your 4th coronavirus case as well confirmed. And it is interesting that it's affecting males at a much higher rate than females, is apparently what we are getting from many sources. And one of my sources that's a really good source and is basically saying too, it's affecting older males primarily. So think about that. Think about what it's going to do with a lot of the leadership perhaps in the country. In many different ways. And so, that just all gets us speculating more and more, does it not?
Yeah, there's a lot of things to take into consideration. And I do think, as the days trot on, we'll be able to connect more and more dots, and we'll keep bringing you guys updates as we get them. And for now, this is everything that we've gotten as far as other sources and public sources, private sources. This is all the information we have. And like I said, I was really sitting on the fence for a while because I wasn't sure if it was propaganda or not. But as this unfolds, it doesn't appear to be any propaganda. This appears to be real. And what they're doing is trying to keep it hush hush so that there isn't mass panic. And not to say we want to create mass panic, but I do want to suggest that people really start beefing up your immune system and take these extra precautions before they make some wide range announcements.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting thoughts coming on out there. And, of course, we're sending our prayers and best wishes for everybody that's in there. And everybody, and not just in there, because it's hitting other areas as well. So going through this now, this is out of South Front, which is all about the military, but it goes into the trade deal, and I found it very interesting because I think most of us would think that the United States would be a little bit more stringent than China on securing the food supply, as far as what we would allow to get out to its citizens and stuff. But it's really interesting to see some of the details on this. And so this gets into the details, and basically, China definitely got the short end of the deal from this person's cutting it up and diagnosing and looking into the deal. It appears that China is the one that kind of buckled on this, and including stuff like allowing food to come into China that they wouldn't allow before, but that is sold in the U.S., and it's fine. And that's really interesting because I think most of us would think that, the Chinese food would be sketchier on the whole than the U.S., but when we look at it, it's well, let me just read this to you. So in the politically charged section on trade and agricultural goods, we see how the U.S. has successfully pressured China to lower food standards in many areas. In sections 3 through 9, China is now committed to adopting maximum residue limits for growth hormones, zeranol, trenbolone acetate, and melangesterone acetate in American beef. These growth hormones in beef have been banned by the EU as potential risks to human health. And, any of you guys that have done any research, you recognize that no matter how good, a steak that is not marked, free range, no antibiotics, no growth hormones, if it's not marked like that, it's loaded with this stuff. And it's one of the things that will cause cancer faster than hardly anything else besides, like nitrates that are used in the processing of like deli meats. They're horrible too. So in other words, China had higher food standards than we do here in the U.S. With regards to this beef specifically. And also in the EU, these things are banned, but not here in the United States. So that's really one of those things that we have to kind of wake up to. China has agreed to lift its ban on American pet food containing ruminant ingredients and agrees to no longer carry out polymerase chain reaction testing on all U.S. pet food products containing these ingredients. And, I used to buy Zeke, one brand that I thought was doing really, really good, because Zeke gets itchy skin. So, no grains. And I would cook his food for him as well. And that's probably the best thing. And then Cindy's done raw food with some of her dogs before. I've done it with one of mine before too. But, we think we're doing good, but we're not. And when we look at this, the U.S. has like some of the lowest standards with a lot of these contaminants. That really tells you a lot, does it not?
Yeah, I know. And when it comes to our pets, they are so ruthless. Wow. Whoa. No, it just said 534. It says we have 138 watching, but
yeah, look at
they're messing with our numbers, you guys. We got like 534 in the chat, and it says only 138 watching. So we're being censored like big time, you guys. This is ridiculous. Let me take a picture of that.
Can you guys see that? It shows 138. So, they don't want us talking about this stuff.
No, this is real.
We start talking about the U.S. standards, and look at, we go from 500 and
400 people.
Well, you guys are still there, I think.
Yeah, they're still there. No, but YouTube.
But YouTube just does it. And so this is how, this is just exactly how they try to starve us out and try to force us to comply. And now we're back to 534.
Wow, magic.
Yeah. So we went, look at this, guys. Whoa. Whoa. Do you see that? So this is exactly, but we're catching on. And so emergency declared in Hong Kong. We're going to have to go into that. Yeah, Kenny, you're right. We've been poisoned. We're being poisoned. Yeah. And that's the bottom line. And we're waking up to it. It's just crazy. But see, we are in the belly of the beast, guys. We've been brought up thinking that the U.S. is the most best, blessed, wonderful country in the world with the greatest system going. But really, we are Roman citizens that are living in Rome. Meanwhile, Rome imposes its will all over the globe. And that's the bottom line. And, actually, Arca Shiloh says, discuss aliens, their numbers swell. Not with certain things. And also, they get demonetized. One of the things about that really triggers demonetization is the giants, which is amazing. They don't want us talking about the giants. It's really amazing as well. So, they don't like alien talk. They don't at all like alien talk, really, especially with the stuff we go into talking about the interdimensional aspect of it, the whole aspect that David Icke's always talked about, which honestly looks more and more legit all the time as we go deeper and deeper in. But if we talk totally from the right, like, say like a Lisa Haven, and pick a side, then that's fine. And you can push fundamentalist Christianity and you don't get demonetized at all. So, that's another thing they're totally fine with. But they don't want us connecting these dots. And when you look at this, it's disconcerting. And, agricultural biotechnology, let's just have food be food instead of, doing all the things that they're doing. 46.7% of people disapprove of GMO food. That's been shoved down our throats, literally, even with hiding what's GMO, so that they are constantly putting new laws in to where they don't have to let us know what really is GMO, and it could be, marked organic, and it's not marked organic anymore. And why don't they get away with that in the EU? It's really kind of curious. Honestly, I feel that the United States is just used to be the strong arm of this NWO, which is here. It's always been here. It's always been here. While we're looking to the future thinking, oh my God, I fear the NWO, it's been here the whole time. For thousands of years, going back to Sumerian time. So basically, it's interesting that the deeper we go into it and decipher this was China caving. And so China did cave on this trade deal, and there's more phases to go in effect, and it's pretty fascinating as well. There's a lot of shifts going on in the world, and this is an article from Zero Hedge, which I won't get into in huge depth, but it's talking about financialization has cemented declines in fertility rates, birth, and eventually depopulation. The world is being depopulated. And you guys are familiar with the Georgia Guidestones and, the 500 million. And we talked about some other big names talking about roughly anywhere between 100 and 500 million people being a really good population for the world. And when we look at it, it's the industrialized nations that the population is really dropping in, and dropping like a rock. And we've talked about fertility levels, that's going down. I think a lot is as far as like sperm counts, I think it has to do with the plastics, because I think that it's changing it's lowering our testosterone, it's increasing the estrogen in men. And as well as other toxins, they're basically slowly but surely making us go sterile. And that's part of the project as well.
Yeah, Mighty Mongoose says, and Raven brought this up too, but Corona, very close to Kronos. So that's interesting. Kronos, how there's always kind of a play with words with these things.
An obvious one too. I know Ark was mentioning corona and the sun as well, because the corona of the sun. And then, of course, we're in a grand solar minimum. And there's so many things that all interplay together, and a lot of wordplay, most definitely.
Yeah, a lot of wordplay here. And, more things will come up in the future too.
Yeah, and then corona as related to royalty and kingship and everything. Mm-hmm. And, with it being as busy as it is, I've been dying to do this video going back into the Sumerian times. And, kingship was given to us from on high, from these Anunnaki, and this whole system, was given to us by the Anunnaki. And these families, these bloodlines that still run the planet for the most part, are direct lineage. At least that's what they believe, and gives them, the power to do what they want to do because they are, anointed from on high.
Yeah, that, but, we have each other, and we have this platform where we can share information. So we are on high too. We can work with each other, share with each other. And, I love it when you guys throw information back and forth in the chat as far as, Ew, that's horrible. What kills germs and stuff? It's just really good information to know.
So, this is a lot of you guys were quoting Hal Turner, and these are going to be the largest numbers that you see. And again, we all have our own opinion on these different sources. Some maybe are a little more sensationalist than others. And the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. But, we don't really know. But over here, he's reporting about 46 million people in 16 cities in lockdown. Chinese army has deployed 50,000 troops to surround Wuhan with orders to shoot to kill anyone trying to escape, as hundreds are trying to flee the cities on foot because there's no food. And you got armored vehicles on the street. More and more videos emerge of infected citizens dropping dead as they walk. Yeah, that is really freaky, and I have seen a lot of that. We're not necessarily dropping dead, but just passing out. Just like, boom. Like somebody just whacked them over the backside of the head, and then they're just out like a light. We had talked about this before, and, honestly, I felt it was time to get away from cities a long time ago. And I shared with you guys, everything I'm watching is, survivalist type of camping, even tent camping out in the middle of areas that are 20 to 40 degrees below. But, these guys are doing it, and they have these little tent stoves that they cook on, and they could get their temp in the tent up to like 50, 60 degrees, even though it's 40 below with this. And a lot of the areas, we have a lot of things that we're facing. We're facing, true massive climate change on a tremendous scale going on. And, a lot of people they feel that they're stuck where they are. Obviously, in all these scenarios, cities are pretty scary places to be, especially because there are most definitely people that will take advantage of situations like this. But when you have the army circling a city and nobody's getting out, it's going to be just absolute chaos on the inside. And I think that's absolutely undeniable. And so we want to bring about, oh gosh, look at this. We got somebody trashing with, all right, let's block. And I saw this come up on a different feed. So this is part of an attack on us. That's a DNS attack kind of thing. Yeah. It most definitely is. And I've seen this on these guys that are inside, well, I think they're inside China. Yeah, they're bots. Yeah, we've been trying to block them. But, this is more. This is not just somebody random and rogue. I feel like that is more like the man, quote unquote, doing this. They're trying to.
Yeah, they're really going after us bad.
Yeah. Wow. The battle is on big time, brother. You're right. Most definitely. Most definitely the battle is on.
Yeah, they just keep coming, don't
they? Yeah. So, yeah, look at how they're spamming it out, guys. They're absolutely trying to spam it out. So, wow. It says Agenda 2030 has to start somewhere. They won't get rid of 8 billion. Okay, so anyway, guys, we're going to try to ignore them. Yeah, they're hacking on us for sure. So, this is part of what we're talking about. And, the deal most definitely was not a great one for China. And then we're talking about the population decrease, which is definitely going on. And this, how Sputnik says, even 90% effective vaccine can stop the outbreak of a new deadly coronavirus, so says a professor. But estimates are anywhere from 6 months to a year and a half. as well. And then many of us, obviously, me personally, I would never take it. Never. I just don't trust it. So I would never personally take it. Everybody has to make their own decision. And it's fascinating because I saw this exact same one in another chat room. And it was trying to take over the chat there as well. So I am going to work on getting us up on Twitch as well. And, so we have another venue. And as we said before, we are posting videos on BitChute and Brightian, as well. And that's going very well.
Yeah, we'll get that done too, but for now there's just going to be things that try to tinker with the channel, and that's okay. It's like no big deal. It means we're doing something right. That means we're onto something. So it's really just more confirmation that we're absolutely doing what's right and what's just, because people are trying to stop it, and that's totally okay. And there's a lot of things we can do. We don't just need to sit here and be fearful and worry. We can get prepared. Copious amounts of vitamin C completely would get everybody started on doing something that's really good for you. And that's just a start, There's other things you can do, like starting with intermittent fasting. Like even 12 hours and 12 hours to get your body to start, I think it's called autophagy. So you want your body to start, getting rid of the waste.
Yeah. And so if we look over here, and some teas for respiratory problems, echinacea, very good. Elderberry with elderflower tea, eucalyptus tea. And we just ordered more eucalyptus and tea tree, golden seal, horehound tea, lemon peel tea, linden tea, marshmallow tea as well, nettle, peppermint tea, rubiose tea, and we have some of that as well, rosehip tea, rich in vitamin C, and thyme tea as well. So all those things can help as well with everything that we see really going on right now. So you guys, I guess we're about done for this one. So I know we've been going a little bit over an hour. We'll come back and we'll do this all again, and we'll make sure we try to block these people out. If not, I'm going to go set up on Twitch and invite everybody over there as well, where we can have a little bit more peace probably.
Yeah, and it's okay too. We'll just keep going through it, really. I mean, as long as we're getting the word out, that's the most important thing. And these people come and show confirmation that we're doing the right thing. It works for me. We can keep on keeping on.
Yeah, somebody said we need better mods. No, because this is totally unmoddable. Yeah, this is something you can't moderate. I mean, this is something that's just, you can't get through it. Yeah, they're really trying to hit us hard.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. This is through.
Yeah.
This is through somebody else. This isn't normal.
So as much as we try to hide it, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, they want us to shut off the comments so you guys can't communicate, and so we can't communicate. And that's part of this bigger picture. Yeah. So yeah, we know things are serious, my friends. So thank you guys for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. As always, stay prepared out there. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.